There's a pyramid of power with eyes that can see it all. Cameras to capture your image at City Hall. Realize they listen whenever you make a call. If you want a revolution, I'll really give it to y'all. If there's the army that bands against bands of dead presidents, determining life of mankind of cancerous. How we breathe vapors, green got us bleeding in streets for cheap paper. Assemble the masses, melt the plastic compound, realign when the shit gets drastic. Lift the veil when the systems are masked. It's just another pyramid scheme, a government racket. The power with the power with Charles Jurassic. Gnashing T-Rex with covert tactics. Rise from the ashes, they back the Atlas. Bring the madness.
Hello. Welcome to the
Hi.
CSL. Hi, Rifkin.
How you doing, Zebby Grub?
I'm alright. A little surprised, a little caught off guard. For those of you that have been waiting, if any of you have, we're late. Apparently we're about 30 minutes late, so...
hang on. We're not late. We are on time for what we were told to be.
We're
here.
even 30 minutes early.
Yes, in fact, we are 30 minutes early.
Yeah. There was miscommunication for sure, and I guess the admins are also just having a difficult day, so they forgot to update us. Oh well, we're gonna get started immediately. Maps ready to go, players ready to go, so let's just hop into it. Pause the music. We are in the playoffs, as you can see. We have a new fancy overlay, which is kind of cool. It's one thing, good thing.
Neat.
Got that much going for us. And it is still a best of 7. There's 2 matches tonight, 2 best of 7s. It is going to be, let's see here, NYU versus Waterloo coming up now, and then later on RPI versus UT Arlington. So here we are in game. In the bottom left for this first game, it is going to be the Green Terran Buster.
Mother. And his opponent in the top right, it's going to be none other than Nerf Me's Star Elf.
Yes. Unfortunately, the consequence of being miscommunication, whatever, is that we don't have the documents that has who's on what team and like what the maps are. So everything's a little bit disjointed, and that kind of sucks. So
Yeah, so we're just going to cast the games rather than get caught up in the specifics.
yeah, I guess that's gonna be how it's gonna go down. Oh well, so it's a TVZ on Layerlat Crest. We are also using the old maps. I asked, and apparently, at least until the finals, they'll be using the old maps. And the finals are going to be played live at DreamHack Austin, which is pretty cool. So May 6th, 7th, no, May 8th, 9th, something like that, okay? Around that weekend is going to be the live finals. And then, I mean, that's like a month away. I would hope they use the new maps for that. But I could see them not actually doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you started the season on a set amount of maps. These aren't necessarily all people who are grinding 50 games out a day type thing. A lot of them are college kids who don't have time to do that. So changing the map ups could actually hurt quite a bit, and I could totally understand the argument against it. Personally, I've got some beef with the new maps anyways, so I don't think that the old map pool is too terrible, as it will be decent enough to watch.
Usually when you see things that are on old map pools after a while, though, I know it does get, I mean, well, okay, so I guess the argument could be like in Pro League, they have old maps, and that's actually looking pretty cool. I watched some of it today. But usually it just makes it look like, I don't know, like the tournament isn't up to date, almost. Oh, wow, that goes way too fast.
Yeah, I can kind of get that, that feeling. But okay, as we get into the game, TVZ is certainly quite interesting the way it's played out. There's a select few players out there who are still trying their best and darndest to make things like mech work, but time in and time out, it's been proven that good old bio just seems to be more than good enough for what a lot of these games require. So Buster, I can't imagine is going to be busting out anything too crazy, but Star Elf, I think on a map like Learlet Crest, you're certainly going to have the freedom to get a bit aggressive if you'd like, but also play greedy. We don't see a third base down yet, though.
Nope, just getting speed, dealing with the Reaper. Really standard stuff for a TVZ. Yeah, there's, still getting caught up. Did not get mentally prepared for a cast or whatever. I was editing videos, which... This is almost a welcome break after finding one flaw after another after 30-minute renders. Yeah,
well, funny enough, I was actually playing Starcraft 2 for
yeah.
once, and
I saw.
I'm charged up and ready to go, man. I'm all Starcrafted up.
I played yesterday, and since I was winning yesterday, I figured I'd lose today. So if I play Starcraft again, it's gonna be tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
That's how I do things.
Logic. Understood.
Dude, it's worked so far. I have stupidly high win records for someone who plays so little.
Right? Today I lost 2 games on stream and won like 13.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
was like in a row. Like my first and my last games were the games I lost.
Yeah.
Although I'm
yeah.
a little bit salty because the guy was apparently stream sniping me and I didn't know this till afterwards. I was like, okay, well now I'm less salty about that loss.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah, but woe is the problem when you choose to stream on base trade TV.
Dude, I had that problem a lot when I was playing Brood War. And I started complaining about it a little, which I've talked about before, so it was nothing new. But basically, Brood War actually is like a really, I guess StarCraft 2, like people are used to me or streamers in general. I'm not sure, but Brood War, it's like one after another try to snipe you and like troll you in game. And since you can't correctly predict if someone's actually Masters or in that case D or D+, like you have to kind of roll with the punches. But anyway, we finally have some action. A couple of Hellions going in here. Only 4, so they don't get too much done, but 4 drones, maybe 5? 5 drones, and like a couple of Lings, I suppose. But there's a Ling attack that also got 3 SCVs. So, I mean, that really wasn't worth it for the Hellions. And we still have Buster going for more Hellions, and now a Banshee. Unfortunately, this is going up against relatively quick Spire. It's not 2-base Spire, but it is, before Evolution Chamber for a Baneling Nest. So that Banshee's only going to have a finite amount of time before she either dies or goes back home.
Alright, well, I guess the interesting fact of this being that it was for time sticking on 2-base, and we are going to actually see mech come out of Buster. This was that big question I brought up at the start of the game. Very little to do with like skill versus strategy versus tactics. It is another style to play, but I would argue it's definitely, if a Zerg player knows how to counter mech, I think mech is one of the easier things to beat. But if this is a situation where Star Elf doesn't know how to respond to this correctly, and he plays passive and he doesn't get in his face, I think that Buster could possibly have a good time.
Possibly. Certainly, we've talked about going mech before, but it's been, I guess, like maybe a month and a half since we've seen ground mech. Alright, so we've seen a couple of air mech, starport-based play.
For me, it's been about half an hour.
Well, okay, yeah, but you're yeah, whatever. But like, Maru did the thing in Pro League that we've seen before from Lily King, and even Gumiho, actually on Learlat Crest, by the way, where they go for Banshee speed into like Liberators, into just air, basically. But ground mech, which is what Buster's doing, at least for now, with 2 extra factories. This can be fine, as you said, if the Zerg player doesn't know how to deal with it, but also if you do enough damage early game to really get a solid 3, maybe even 4 base economy, and get up to that count of, 200 basically army that is still very powerful. The units themselves didn't change, it was just, how you get to them that did. So, I mean, I'm not saying that he did that much damage, but Buster, his couple of Hellions have started to rack up a little more than just 4 or 5 drones, and they're still trying. I mean, Hellions are kind of cheap, they are only minerals, but less so than they were in Heart of the Storm, now that you're a little bit less on minerals and Legacy of the Void.
Alright, so one of the classic mistakes of mech ever since even HOTS was getting caught off guard by these air swaps. So we got Thors on the way, we got Liberators on the way. Should be fine against the Mutas. The funny thing is, though, I really don't like Mutas for this situation, and I really don't like the Carapace that's going with it. Now, if this Carapace is with the intention of eventually getting Broodlords and Corruptors later, then 2 thumbs up from Rifkin. But air is not going to cut it when it comes to dealing with mech. Not early, at least. Later on, if it's like all air from Terran and you've got like parasitic bombs, have a great time. Sincerely, me. But it's not going to do too much here. We got more Hellion harass going down. I'm surprised that this is catching Star Elf so off guard constantly. Pulling drones into is going to cost him a few more here. A little bit messy, but it looks like he will clean this up.
I mean, his kill count's gone up to 31 for Buster. That's pretty impressive for just Hellions. I mean, it's not a small amount of Hellions, but just Hellions. I agree on the mutas. It's something that's happened, you know, in Heart of the Swarm all the time. You'd be going for 2 base muta, which is a very popular build in Heart of the Swarm, and then you'd be like, uh-oh, they're going mech, and that's, you know, you'd scout it with the mutas, and that was at least some use of them. And they would be able to buy some time, maybe harass a little, because Thors are slow, and, you know, you don't have any Vikings, apparently, or Buster doesn't. It actually goes for Liberators, of course, now. But the point is, you're going to transition out of them. If you went mass mutas, I mean, you know, sometimes people were trolling, and then sometimes people actually thought that it was a good strategy, but oftentimes it was not the way to go. But especially in Legacy of the Void, where you could argue, okay, mutas can run around Thors and Vikings all day, and that's how they'll win the game eventually, but they can't really run around Liberators or run circles around Liberators. Eventually they will be caught clumped up, and that 1 second could be the death of his muta flock. We do have a quick hive coming down, and that is scouted by Buster with his Banshee.
Well, I guess for those who have not seen these sort of competitions play out, it's worth noting Thors are actually proving to be not too bad when it comes to fighting things like Ultralisks and Roaches and Ravagers. But I think we all know all it takes is a couple of links to really screw up a Thor and wreck their day. Obviously, right now they're with the intention of those mutas, but as we see that number bulking up, I mean, he's going to be on like 7 or something Thors shortly.
This feels very, very hard to the Swarm. I keep bringing up the distinction, but, you know, only 2 Liberators, or maybe not even. Only 1 Liberator.
It's the lack of tanks that I find most interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was a push that was done before, too, especially if they were sticking on mutas, which Starolf still is, going for 12 more mutas. He never got a Roach 1 for a swap.
I'm not feeling good for Starolf at all in this situation. Like, I really do feel like he's going to die. That spread's kind of cool to see. It's not too bad, but it's just too many damn Thors. The spread's actually working out much better than I said. As more mutas do flocking for the behind.
This is
cleans
like
up the Thors, and it'll clean up everything else.
This is like pre-mech figured out Heart of the Swarm, too. Like, I guess it's still doing a lot of damage. More drones went down. The 4th is going to go down.
Okay, so getting the Thors was huge. Losing the 4th was kind of an acceptable loss, but the thing we have to look at here is the army supply for Buster is still pretty damn high. If you crush a mech army, you're supposed to be able to counterattack and win because that production's so slow and it can't keep up, and you just push for the victory. With 3 Thors being produced at a time, defensive turrets, a couple of Liberators here and there, those mutas may have done well across the map. I don't think they're going to do well, though, on this side of the map.
If they're any higher, they're only at 16 now. If they're at 25 or 30, I mean, there's really not that many missile turrets. They can magic box Thors as they pop out of these factories over here. I mean, they could do a lot of damage, but Starolf is playing... It's not greedy, or rather, it's not greedy enough if that's the type of game you're going to play. There's like aggressive versus mech where you get a lot of roaches consistently, you keep trading and whatnot, and then there's like, you know, my late game mech, where you'd want to be up at 80 drones, 5 bases, building a huge bank, and teching as well, and, you know, just preparing for a late game. Starolf down 60 supply has a lot to do with the fact that his drone count was never very good. In fact, it was stuck in the below 50s for quite some time, and only reached this 57, maybe a few more because of the hatch rate down, but never as high as you would want it to be to get that really big bank. And while he has a bank, it's not helping him. It's all in minerals and gas here, and not in actual units. He's trying to get Broodlords now, but it might be too late. Probably too late.
Yeah. I think one of the really undervalued parts of this, too, is, like, Buster's making a strategy work that looks good. And you look at this and go, oh, man, I can't wait to try this out versus Zerg, but don't.
Yeah, no.
Like, this worked out really well because Starolf really didn't know how to handle this. You might win a percentage of ladder games if you go for something like this, but truth be told, again, like, I really don't feel this was handled too well for my Zerg players, so that's what's made this look so damn good. Yeah. Broodlord's going to morph in, but it's on top of the Thors. They're actually, well, their damage right now is no good. Try and do this in the future, you're going to have a bad time, as Thors are going to have some really sick single target in the next patch.
Yeah, this does look to be game. Only 2 Broodlords ended up morphing. How was the last one not dying? Are you serious? And I guess they can hold the ramp for some time, but this is definitely game. Either Starelf has never been very confident versus mech, or he has forgotten how to play versus mech, and certainly this type of mech too, which is just not really seen anymore.
Third base under attack while this goes on as well. Hellions just kind of frying up everything alive. And this is not going to be Starelf's game. Which do we know yet? Which team this guy plays for?
Negative.
Negative. All right.
I want to say Waterloo, but I can't remember.
The losing guy plays for Waterloo. This is truly Waterloo. Well, again, for those who don't know formats, game number 1 is always going to be a best of 1. Game number 2 is always going to be a best of 1. Then game 3 will be a 2v2, and game 4 will be an Archon mode match. And should this series continue on after that, it will all be best of 1 or 1v1s. So, I mean, right now this looks a little bit grim, and whichever, again, I'm sorry that we don't know, guys. We haven't been given the proper information yet. Well, this looks grim for whoever's team Starelf represents. It is only one game in a best of 7, and there's plenty of other players and plenty of other matches to still be played.
Yeah, best of 7 allows for a lot of comeback, and just the different format as well. But this is definitely not some game that Starelf is going to win. Kudos on the creep spread. Certainly has enough vision going around to know when he's about to be attacked, but that's about the only thing going for him. Slowly trying to build up numbers, I suppose, of Broodlords, because I guess his tech was mostly untouched. More importantly, like the Greater Spire was untouched, but that's you know, it's already being countered by Vikings. No more slow Thors slowly killing them. They're gonna go pretty quick. Is this? There's no. Oh, okay, there's more corruptors.
I remember when the Cyclone first came out. You and I were at BlizzCon and we were testing it, and
Yeah.
just watching how good like 1v1 a Broodlord was insane. I kind of wish you could do something like that now, but Cyclones have been nerfed and tossed around, and their health pool is so garbage now. There's just no way to make something like that happen. But I always sit here, continue wishing.
They're really not used at all anymore. Like, yesterday when I was playing, I thought the Protoss was going to do something aggressive, and I was like, oh, I'll get a Cyclone, and then I was like, oh wait, people don't get Cyclones anymore. Like, it doesn't matter, they just go for one of my drops.
Well, Rifkin does, but that's a whole nother can of worms.
You do a lot of things.
Cocky. Yeah, so I was actually talking about it on stream. I think, like, I got hard countered in one game today, and it blew my mind, because I'm like, I don't play normal for anyone to, like, not scout and hard counter. Like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Map hacks, obviously.
Yeah, clearly. No, I'm not going, like, blame Motori on it, but it's just, it is one of those things where you're like, really? That's so weird, like, the coincidence of this.
Well, there is a fight, like, a good amount of Broodlords, and like I said, the Thor's gonna take a long time to kill them, but that's what the Vikings are here for. And I don't think he saved any Corruptors.
Let's hypothesize for a second that the Vikings don't kill this, and the Broodlords actually continue the game on for poor Starelf. He's not gonna have any money to finish up the game with. Like, there's no mining at the natural. He's on 24 workers. Like, I kind of feel like Buster could make unupgraded Marines en masse and still have that game, like, win the game for him.
Yeah, I agree. He's got 2 extra command centers, one going down here, one, okay, just turning to an orbital here. And he could throw down a bunch of barracks and go for a mass Marine with 3,000 minerals. I am pretty surprised that this game isn't over yet, to be honest. Not just because Starelf wasn't leaving, but because Buster, he didn't push. Why didn't you push?
I feel like he couldn't, because he didn't see that there was no corruptors behind it. And
he has enough scans. I should. Why is he moving so hard?
He's like Rifkin. He likes to mule, I guess. My point of this, though, is he didn't know that there was no corruptors behind it. And if you're a mech player, we've all been there, where you go in with what you think is an adequate amount of air and be like, oh, right, corruptors are really fucking cool. But in this sort of instance, Buster definitely has enough. He just doesn't have the knowledge to know that he has enough.
I am so surprised. This is the only planetary, and he still doesn't have any scans. I mean, kudos on your macro mechanics.
It's double the supply overall. You know, he's maxing out on 200. Starelf not even hitting 100. It is 8-move territory. I think the other thing that props a little bit scary and daunting is a couple of Vipers really could actually kill this entire Viking army. As sad as that is to say, that is a true fact.
Yeah, I think that actually happened. He got parasitic bombed, and that probably scared him. And they're full on energy. They've had not much else to do besides sucking down a hatchery or 2. But you know, that's where, I don't know, like everything comes in, and like splitting, and splitting comes into effect. That is a nice amount of corruptors. Starelf is getting that scary Broodlord corruptor composition. If only he had support for it, you know, Lings on the ground, counterattacks going down, and a couple of bases to fall back on, that'd be great. But there is that split, and it's a pretty good concave. Oh my god, he's dancing Vikings?
What?
Cool. You can dance Vikings?
Cool. TIL.
Why didn't we know this? I
So I just want to point out he has thrown away most of the Vikings here, and he's still got this game in the bag, but the Vikings have been actually being cleaned up, and the Thors are struggling to kill the Broodlords, so this kind of stops him from pushing. And, I don't know what to say. It's just like, Buster, your man. Look, I know you really want to let your opponent know you've won this game, but how about you just win the game? You know what I'm saying?
well, I mean, it's running away from the Broodlords isn't the worst idea, but now that they are in open air, then the Thors will probably do fine against them, or good enough. And you have so much production going on, so many extra bases taken. You could lose every single Thor and still be okay.
So you know what we didn't cover? I think getting into this game.
What's that?
That this is the round of 8 now for the CSL, and we've always been referring to the playoffs. A lot of people are confused whether that meant round of 16 or not, but this really is starting to weed out. Like, there is no losers bracket. It's getting close to the end of this season for the CSL, and we've seen a lot of teams come and go. But yeah, the round of 8 is really going to really whittle it down, because next up is the semifinals and the grand finals at DreamHack.
Yeah, it's going quick. And that does make sense. We saw NYU last week. Unfortunately, we didn't get to cast 2 series on last Tuesday because everything went to shit. Like,
last week got a little bit awkward.
Everything was terrible. So unfortunately, I don't remember who it was. Actually, it might have been Waterloo, and that's why I don't recognize these guys. It's been so long. But anyway, NYU definitely familiar. We know most of the players, but again, I can't remember which one is which for these 2 in particular. I feel like if I had the roster but not the teams, I could definitely tell you who is who, but I don't have either one, and that's it's no goose. It's no good. Oh.
Well, here's fingers crossed up when we get it before the stream's over today, right?
Right? Yeah. Game's still going on. 20 minutes. Star Elf's trying to get another Broodlord army back, but eventually he's just gonna run out of minerals finally in his own 3 bases.
I mean, that's what I referenced earlier. The point of this, the real big heavy hitting part of this is there's just not going to be money. I mean, Buster's not exactly taking every base on the map. Doesn't need to, but it is going to come down to a point where his opponent can no longer mine. There simply just won't be bases for it. Okay, going in for the kill. There are Spore Crawlers, a Viper. What are you doing? Good up Parasitic Bomb. There's More
the Parasitic Bomb.
Oh
my god, the Broodlords are all stacked up, so Liberties do a great job against them. Now, they mostly, they live,
He's gonna lose all the Vikings
so
again
low.
to the Spore Crawlers.
Come on.
This is too funny.
Okay, there we
GG.
go.
Alright, so game number 1 will go to Star Elf's team. We just don't know which team that is.
No, we'll go to Buster's team.
Or Buster's team, excuse me, thank you. Too busy looking at Star Elf upon the defeat.
And as I said, I don't have the roster, so I don't know who is coming up for the next 1v1. Okay, who was... Okay, good. Admin says he'll Skype the lineups shortly, so that'll be nice. I also need to know the second map, which is Prion Terraces. Oh, Buster was Waterloo.
Oh, so it's Waterloo that leads in.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I guess we can ask these guys too when we get in the lobby, just like which school you guys are representing.
Admin just said it in the chat. Foe is Waterloo, Shu is NYU.
Oh, okay, cool.
And Shu actually has the NYU clan tag, which is really convenient.
NYU, by the way, I gotta say, like, despite the way that first game went, probably one of my favorites to at least make it to the semifinals. I mean, I know this doesn't start off well for them versus Waterloo, but we've just seen a lot of really good things from NYU in the preseason, in the now season. So I will actually be really shocked if they fall out here.
Yeah, I suppose. This is when I would bring up the stats. Oh, powerful. Got it. But I don't have them. I have, I think, just too much bias in NYU because I recognize them more. We've talked to them more.
That one guy, Steve's like always tweeting.
Yeah, he subbed to us. Like, there's definitely bias in there to be like, yeah, they're probably gonna get through because I'm pretty sure Waterloo is a really good score. But I don't know what NYU's is. Of course, score mattered in the season, where if you lost one series, it wasn't that big of a deal. But now, if you lose a series, you're actually out.
You're dunzos.
Yeah.
Well, Preon Terraces being a gold-based map should prove to be interesting. It looks like it's going to be a TVP. Both players are Masters League, to note, so ain't no scrubs.
Master League is definitely too big right now.
Shh.
This is less a comment about them, because I think they're going to be Masters regardless. But with how, like, I don't know, easily I got in after not playing for a long time, I was like, this can't be right. And I asked around, and apparently Masters is up to like 8% or something. Nailed it. Quadruple the amount it's supposed to be.
Let them have their win.
I just said that they're gonna be Masters regardless.
But why you gotta bring them down in the first place, man? Like,
I don't think this is bringing them down that much.
Masters ain't nothing but a trick, because I got in. Okay, Zamagum. Nobody, like, we get it. You're good.
Questionable. Anywho, in the top left, this team is now down 1. It is the Purple Protoss, Shu.
Shu playing for NYU.
Yep.
This is great because it rhymes. Electric Boogaloo, game number 2. Shu for NYU. In the bottom right, playing for Waterloo, and also rhymes, it's going to be the Red Terran Powerful.
Yeah, and do want to note that he did send an SCV out pretty damn quick, so that's going to be a Proxy Reaper, most likely, although Proxy Ghost can happen.
I was going to say, this map, we've been seeing that quite a bit, actually, more than others.
Yeah, and then there's just the more important follow-up that we're going to have to pay attention to.
No way.
Okay, this doesn't surprise me all that much. Shu is a really good player. You might recognize him from some of the NA tournaments, because he's been in the scene for a while, just has never been fully committed to Starcraft 2, obviously, being a college student, so, you know, like, some of the older teams like Clarity and whatnot, you might know him. So I'd say that he's definitely one of the heavy hitters for NYU, and as such, if you're a heavy hitter, you got to be aware that they might cheese you, because everyone's being like, well, you probably couldn't beat him in a macro game. Well, so I really like that he's scouted, and it's a very common location to proxy here.
Right, like I said, we've been seeing this, like, whether it's Ghosts or whether it's just for Reapers, like, this map has induced a lot of proxy, and we've been seeing in pretty much 3 generic locations, and that is location number 2 on my list to check. So, Shu checking it first, totally good move out of him. This forces a cancel and totally screws Pyrofo's build.
Yeah.
Now, he's not super behind for this. It's not like he cut a bunch of workers, but it does suck because your plans have been ruined right from the get-go.
Yeah, well, it pushes off your command center because he still wants to go for a command center after barracks. He might have been wanting to follow up not with a second barracks, but with a factory and a starport. That's what I was thinking of, because there's multiple ways to follow up a proxy Reaper, but it has to be entirely changed because you need a barracks first and foremost, and he was not going to finish the one on the other side of the map, and it's just everything has been pushed back like a minute or more, whereas Shu, the only thing he had to do was send a probe out. That pushed him back nothing.
Well, I guess one of the really big downsides of that command center being pushed off is this being gold bases of what it is. Not gonna like kill somebody who's got mules to back them up, but it is your opponent getting their gold up way before you, and that's actually just what's happening. Shu transfers the probes over now. I think one thing a lot of Terran players are really looking out for on this map are those adept all-ins. It's scary. We see it in the pro scene all the time, and because you've got all that extra money and you require less workers, it's pretty easy to get them out.
This Reaper was supposed to come really early, now it's coming pretty late. Oddly enough, might have still been able to get a scout because it was so late. The Adept wasn't going to be, waiting for it in the main base. And same with the Mothership Core, as you see it walk past as well. The Reaper does disengage, as it should, and should go into the main and try and throw a couple of grenades. But, okay, I guess he's more worried about the pylons, which is something he definitely has to worry about. Bunker coming down is the first step, but unfortunately it's in range, so it's, it's too late. Yeah, not even having to use the photon overcharges yet. I think that's a really good move. It's smart. There is a good amount of production soon enough, especially if you start using that factory for widow mines, but Bunker not canceled. There goes a photon overcharge.
I don't want to comment on this. I was playing this a lot today, and I wasn't enjoying any of it. But this is something we've seen Mana actually pull out, just to reference a pro in particular, if you want to look up any of his games, used to break open that wall and makes things like Adepts just so much more viable because you can actually get them up to the mineral line of your opponents. Now, the Adepts aren't here, and that's a bit of a problem for the Mothership Core, but that overcharge isn't going to be dealt with anytime soon. We do see the Adepts starting to arrive, so it gets a little bit tricky for Power Foe.
Try to save a supply depot because he was going to be supply blocked and has not started anywhere else. That's definitely a problem. The main base not mining means he's not mining from a gold while his opponent is. Everything is bad for Power Foe, but it was going to be very hard to recover anyway. From a failed proxy, whether it was they macroed and never touched you, or if they did get aggressive, either way it was going to be hard to catch up or defend. It just so happens that Shu saw an opportunity to be aggressive. I won't be getting a command center, not with only 2 stalkers. Maybe if I also put an overcharge, maybe, but no, it doesn't matter. As long as it's being lifted, then that's certainly a lot of damage.
No touching, no touching.
Stim. He should probably pull SCVs, but there's still an overcharge ready.
It's so far gone, too, that it may just not have been worth trying to save it versus mine out smart minerals. But Powerful's floating money, so I feel like that sim really should have been saved. The Robo's really late to this, too, but I think every time a player knows there's usually one with this, so the Wood Mine not being advanced forward, it would help. But I think the assumption is that there's an observer here, which there normally would be. Shu actually choosing to prioritize Blink over his Robo meant that came down much later.
A lot more gateways on the way. She was looking to end this on 2 base, because, well, he can. I mean, this is starting to get some type of defense. The Widow Mine, if it could move forward, that'd be good. If there was more production, as Powerfoot was banking a lot of minerals, I could see him pushing this back, maybe taking the natural, but now Warp Gate's done, so while these are slow Warp Ins, they're still on the front line. Blink is finished, and that's going to be it. GG.
So, Shu tying it up now 1-1 with NYU versus Waterloo.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. But now we get to really change things up. We get to go to my favorite matchup of the best of 7, and that's going to be the 2v2.
Yeah. So definitely remember to change the overlay, and then get everyone in game. Which takes a while.
Good job, son. Good job. High five.
I think the map is Seething Jungle. Yes, it is. Which is an old 2v2 map. I don't find it on...
Yeah, we've had trouble with some of these maps since they changed the ladder here, folks. See, we may be stuck here for a moment, trying to figure out what to do. So I think we lucked out last time this happened, and they just ended up forfeiting, so we didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that was with the second 1v1 map twice. Very coincidental, so we didn't have to worry about it. I guess Seething Jungle isn't available. No maps found called Seething Jungle. Am I spelling it right?
I'm looking too, and it's just spinning. I don't even have like a no maps found. It's just
great
spinning. So what do we do if we can't find it? Like, in all seriousness.
Apparently Steve found it, so that's just good enough.
If he can host it up and it's not going to end up having something weird like 400 range missile turrets on it, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's not LE, but I guess we have to trust it.
I wonder what they changed this time around, because like we've never in the past, because we've used old maps before, Cybet Race Wars and other things, and we've never really run into this issue. It's whatever this most recent patch is that we can't seem to find any of the maps from the previous season.
I mean, do they want to be in here? Or are they? Is that a team? Yeah. Me and Boss Toss. Okay, I guess it's Boss Toss. And JC and Constant. There we go. So the matchup's going to be Protoss Zerg versus Terran Random. Yeah. And we'll explain why random is used, I guess, once I get the okay from the players.
Mm-hmm.
At least one from each team. Go, 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 go. Huh? Oh, he meant yes. Now I need... Okay, Waterloo needs a second. Well, I guess now they need a second. So random is chosen because there's no stacking in the CSL for 2v2, which means you can't have two of the same race. An odd rule, but it's one they went with. It's, I don't know. They might have had trouble in the past, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a problem now. Oh well. So the way that people can get around that, or try to, is by picking random and hoping to get, in this case, it would be double Terran. That actually didn't happen so far, I don't think. We have never seen two of the same race, despite maybe 50% of the teams having random.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't think so. No.
Whatever. I was gonna say. Usually one person from each team is all I need, but one person did specifically state that they needed to be right back.
Ugh, excuse me.
Just be ready. Oh well. Oh my god.
Okay, so they ready up another aliens rear back. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Oh well. So since this cast did start late, I guess the other team hopefully was alerted and is not just waiting around for an extra 30 minutes. Score is currently 1-1, so we're guaranteed to have the Archon and then the other 1v1. Since changing to the best of 7 format, they did just make everything else 1v1. They didn't add on any more 2v2s or Archon. I think that is less to do because 1v1s are easier, which I think would be a great reason to do it. Oh, they're ready. But also that since there's also a rule about people being not allowed to basically play in more than 2 games, it would be really hard to get a full roster for like 2 Archons and 2 2v2s.
Yeah, it's we've actually talked to some of these guys like outside of the CSL, and there have been instances of literally just grabbing anybody. Like sometimes placeholders are actually necessary. But it's time for the party. This is my favorite part of the CSL cast. So I guess I'm going to kick off the intros if you don't mind. Spawning here in the top right side of Seething Jungle. Both teams playing for NYU. They've just tied up the series 1-1. It's going to be the combination of Call Me Steve and Yatagasu. Or sorry.
Ah, so close.
Yatagarasu.
In the bottom left, playing for Waterloo, it is the pink Zerg JC and the teal Terran Constance. Okay, so JC, I do believe, was the random player, and as such, the Zerg is going to be a surprise. So that can be very unfortunate. That's another reason to play random, I suppose. I mean, mostly, I guess we talked about it being potential to stack, so double Terran. But, of course, random players, in general, have the opportunity to be cheesier than people who actually choose their race, especially in a 2v2 where aggression is usually key. And as such, I'm really glad that we do have a very early scout from NYU to scout that early pool. Not unexpected, even if this was, you know, obviously Zerg. It is not unexpected at all. Usually the key in having a Zerg for each 2v2 is that they can both attack or defend an early attack, which always happens in all the 2v2s we've seen.
Yeah, there's always a bit of Reapers, a bit of early Lings. just depends what the races are. I will say, though, part of the reason I really enjoyed this is we do know that, for the most part, CSL consists of more amateur players. And that's not a good or a bad thing, guys. It's just a state of fact. But the nice thing about 2v2 is it really does remove the necessity to be really good at the game out of the equation. Like, in 1v1, there's build orders, the meta's been set, you know how that game is supposed to play. 2v2 actually doesn't have that set in stone, and a large part of it is because the game actually is not balanced for 2v2 at all. It is imbalanced in many different ways. It makes it a lot more fun to watch, it makes it a little bit more chaotic in some situations, and in general, I think we've had some of our best games played or cast on the stream through these 2v2s. So I'm always really excited to see how these are going to turn out.
Well, Call Me Steve's going to be in some trouble here. You have to go for a hatchery. I mean, you're going to start banking minerals, but it is a weak point that is kind of far away from their main bases. His teammates, that's what I'm looking for, his teammates did, keep in mind that I was an early pool and did go for 2 gateways to get some extra production. Unfortunately, this is a case where if this pylon was sniped, he'd be dead. He's apparently going to be the one getting all the aggression, and the Reaper's coming over here as well. And luckily he does have 2 stalkers and does a pretty nice job defending early. But this is just the beginning. There's more lings, you're going to have speed. Oopsie, that one. And there are going to be more Reapers from Constant as well.
I can see the pings. Can you see the pings?
I did. Magical. I guess the patch fixed that too.
Yeah, we've had this issue where like sometimes we can and sometimes we can't actually see the in-game pings, but kind of cool to see like signaling between one another. Just defend here, go there, attack here. We do have some lings getting to the main base of what appears to be Yatagarasu, and it doesn't have an overcharge available, so lost some probes for it. A little bit unfortunate. Reapers and lings tussling here in the middle, but I do feel like the Reds player's stalker should ultimately win this out as long as he's got a few lings from his ally to buffer for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they should be able to save this hatchery as well. And the question is, are the attacking players macroing up behind this? We do have a command center on the high ground, and, well, JC is still making lings. So, as much as we expected from the Terran, but definitely not from the Zerg. The Banelings have been morphed in for Call Me Steve. They could help out against the Reapers if the Lings had to post around first. Even then, it's questionable with grenades. But they'll certainly help out against the Lings, keeping them off the backs of the Stalkers, and the Stalkers will hopefully be able to deal with the Reapers. Grenades make everything tricky.
It's a funny snowball effect, though, because right now the amount of Reapers out are scary, but they can also die and disappear very, very quickly. And if that's the case, it'll be pretty bad news bears. So for now, it's fine. Teal's really got a nice handle on things, but as we see start to get surrounded, Stalkers taking their shots, Reapers bleeding out 1 or 2 at a time, and he loses all that momentum he had built up over time.
Yeah. And it is important to keep at least some of these Reapers alive. He's still producing Reapers as well. Eventually, they will not be effective in combat as our Protoss especially continues to get good units and gets tech as well. There we have Blink on the way with his Twilight Council, which I think is definitely the right answer. Lings try and take out the Reapers, and in fact they do with the help of the Spinecrawler. A couple of Lings, however, get on top of Call Me Steve's main mineral line, kill the Queen, and go to town on a couple of the drones. The drones are pulled away. It's still, it's hectic, but I think that the NYU team has defended. It's just a question of defended well enough, or they got a lead because of this, or is everything just evened out?
I don't know, it's kind of too hard to tell. Again, with 2v2 being different, it's even, in some instances, harder for us to read it. But I do think that for the most part, when we look at a lot of things that comes down to worker counts, and it is worth noting, Blue has dedicated so much to this, his drone count really did fall. Took some losses, didn't build some, so now as he sets up for what is a lot of lings in play, if NYU is going to sit around and do nothing with these, it's going to result in just them being behind, straight up.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. You can see that Protoss, did a great job defending, and while they still have minerals on their one base, they're actually looking pretty good. So kind of carrying the NYU team. But on the, flip side, Call Me Steve is starting to drag behind with that limited economy. Good lift on that command center, and they are looking to just bust. I mean, they're going to have Blink, they're going to have Banelings. I think that's a pretty good composition, because the Lings would be the scariest part, taking out the Stalkers and the surrounds, but not if Banelings are covering them, and there's not a very big Marine army.
No, as said before, I thought the Stalkers were going to eventually be what tips this, and it seems to be that is the case. As they got a pretty good handle on things. Banelings don't even need to be used. Like the threat of the Banelings is almost more dangerous than the Banelings actually going off, but they do end up being used up here. Pulls back to stay with the Stalkers. And the Stalkers are only going to start falling apart if they don't have the Lings to support them. So as the onslaught continues, there's a small counterattack across the map, but it's really not doing enough.
Yeah, nice spine crawler plus a queen right there. And call me Steve. It might have been low on drones, but now JC is even lower on drones, and it looks like NYU might be taking this 2v2 to give them a 1-game lead in the best of 7. But Waterloo isn't done yet. We got the Terran trying to bring things back, and certainly if there's any race that has the most potential, it is Terran, especially once they get those medevacs. We might see a really good drop if they buy enough time, but not even a starport out yet, so that's not going to happen. Baneling busting the bunkers. That bunker should go down. Just target fire with anything, the Lings or the Stalkers. There we go. And that's that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty well-fought game. We saw it was the bottom left team, and it was Waterloo that started to get really aggressive. But NYU held. They took some losses, but their counter was just way too strong. And I don't know how you deal with 17 Stalkers at this point. Like, you can't even... Like, you go AFK, and I feel like the Stalkers are still going to kill most of what's left on the field.
Yeah, they are. They are. Nice choice by NYU to go on the aggression after defending the attack. If they had just started to try and macro up, I think this would have been, fairly even game. JC was up like 16 workers to the other Zerg, but good choice to attack. And that'll give them a 2-1 lead going into the Archon mode match now.
Right, and this is where you sometimes see things get thrown around even further because good players, bad players, Archon mode doesn't care. How does teamwork go seems to be the case. Some teams have actually strategically said, all right, I'm actually going to 1v2. I just need you to be on my team for a formality. And then some teams actually play the actual Archon mode, choreography, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see how this gets played out. It is worth noting, though, that no matter what, due to the current score, we will see a 1v1 reprise itself after. Mm-hmm. So we will see a little bit more. But, yeah, in the best of 7, first team to 4 wins. So getting a lead here extending their lead here could go really well for NYU to closing this out. I mean, NYU has an entire class about Starcraft. For those who don't know why we constantly reference it over and over, Zombie Grub straight up taught that class for a while. So, well, I don't think it's about making the players the best possible. It's kind of cool to see that a school so... ripe with StarCraft would produce good players to play in the CSL.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool. I think it's about having anyone taking interest because like a section of NYU, but that's one of the main problems for CSL is finding people to play. A lot of people would be fine having, a club where they play StarCraft 2, even if they're not very good at it. But to actually be competitive, a lot of people are intimidated, saying, well, why would I join the team? I'm not going to win anyway. So having everyone actually involved in a school certainly helped NYU get to this round of 8. Don't know much about Waterloo. And we do have the members ready. Oh, Grasscutter actually managed to get GM.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
Well, I think
past.
GM's a little bit big right now. It's like bigger than it has been in the past, and
it's not big,
GMs...
but whoever played the most had the highest chance of getting the GM.
No, I'm just teasing.
I tried to look at his profile history. Why is his highest career finish 2011? Is that how it works?
Maybe it's like previous to this season, then like next season I'll update it or something.
Huh.
You know what I hate though?
He got Masters last season. Why did you just say that? Oh well.
Well, what I hate, and this is what bothers me, is the StarCraft 2 ranking system and queuing system, and there's just an infinitely large amount of things that are broken about things in general. I was reminded of this earlier today, actually. For example, if you queue unranked, you can queue against ranked people, so it also doesn't take like League into account. For example, I was playing against... guys, for those who are not aware, I was playing against a Grandmaster player earlier today because he was unranked and I was ranked. And for some reason, Blizzard thought that was okay.
Well, they straight up use 2 different MMRs. There's your ranked MMR and your unranked. And if you don't play unranked, then you could technically be facing bronze in there, which happens commonly. And then they yell at you and you're just like, but I'm trying to get it so I don't face you, but I have to face you to get there, you know what I mean?
Exactly. But Archon mode hype?
Yeah. It is going to be on Central Protocol, and in the top left, their team is now down 1 for Waterloo. It is JC and Powerfo.
Of course, we get to see Powerful a little bit earlier. Their opponents, reprising his role from the 2v2, it's going to be the team player Call Me Steve, but now with his ally Grasscutter.
Yep. He's also just in general the NYU, what is the word they use? Like director, manager, coordinator. That's the word, coordinator.
Coordinator sounds too lame and boring.
It
Team
does.
captain sounds cooler.
It certainly does. But anyway, I guess they don't appreciate Seething Jungle. The problem with 2v2 maps is that, there's 2v2 is about aggression, and that's what the maps are going to look like. So whether it's Seething Jungle or the other map that is used in the CSL, which I forget the name of right now, both are just going to be rotten. Because as you said, Blizzard doesn't balance the 2v2. Apparently, back in the day, they actually did. So that was one of the main reasons why the Reaper was nerfed, I believe. I was getting a history lesson from some of the older players that I hang out with. But basically, in 2v2, it was too overpowered of a strat, so they reduced the damage or something, and 1v1 players were like, what the hell?
The only time I remember really seeing balance patches for 2v2 was usually more things that had to do with the maps, but I wouldn't disbelieve it. We've seen weirder the reasons for things to get changed.
Yeah.
Or for speed.
Blizzard,
or for some speed.
Blizzard changed their philosophy on that one at least. But as we can see here, highlighted 3 Racks Reaper Central Protocol. It got changed at the very end of its life, basically, so no more back rocks, which is great in one aspect, bad in another. Blink Stalker all-ins and Reaper attacks are now much more effective. A ton of room to maneuver around and, basically outposition lings, roaches, queens, what have you. And I don't believe that a drone scout. Our Xur team has scouted this yet. No. Also no vertical spawn. That's why they didn't check up here.
I was going to say, it's actually been so long. Like, we had, for us personally, we had actually removed Central Protocol from our own map pools and replaced it with another map for tournaments. And then, of course, on Ladder, well, we never play Ladder because we're terrible people, but we just didn't see a lot of Central Protocol because it was getting vetoed a ton prior to the changes. Now that this is like the newer version, sure, it's a little bit better. Sure, there's been tweaks made, but things like Reapers en masse are still going to be dangerous, and especially in the hands of an Archon mode player who can dedicate to them. Now, he shouldn't lose this first Reaper. Like, this is to slow lings. That would be bad. But 3 more Reapers are coming to the natural base, so while this one kind of hides out for the time being, heals up, this is going to cause a bit of threat to what is the drone line. Once those lings go down, there's not going to be any buffer for the Queen. They'll start going down. This falls apart quickly once the Reapers get out of hand.
Yeah. This is certainly a powerful strategy, as you said, for Archon and the map. I really do like that they chose for it, and I'm a little bit surprised that I guess NYU didn't prepare more for it. So drone scouting, I think, would have been great, but it was such a late drone scouts that, they didn't see it in time to at least be mentally prepared, and to be mentally prepared usually means that you're seconds away from throwing on a Roach Warren, which is finally on its way.
That's
again, late.
Too little, too late.
Yeah. It's everything was just too late. They didn't expect the 3 Racks Reaper, which is just very unfortunate. I think it does have a lot to do with the fact that the protocol is not played very often. Since the best of 7 format was changed, like the maps have also changed for CSL, the order of maps rather.
Well, I was going to mention really quick, they're still holding on to this. The drone line's only just now getting cut into. If they can still stabilize losses, potentially Roaches could bring them back. But this does feel like it's too far gone in the favor of Terran. And we might just see a 2-2 score at the end of this if they can't get a handle on things soon.
Yeah. Well, JC's certainly getting some revenge. We noted that Grasscutter was a GM, but that didn't help them. He still got surprised.
Yeah, you can still build or lose in GM.
Yeah.
But they are pushing this back. So, I mean, this is that emphasis here where, okay, a couple of Roaches are coming out. Like, honestly, a couple of Roaches aren't going to stop Reapers, but one Ravager would. One Ravager could actually completely change up the game if they can get that out. The worker count, it's in the gutter. 19. That's not something you want to have to manage. But it's still something where they're in the game. They're not giving up yet. Here comes the Roaches. Ling's going to try and hold the Reapers in place despite these grenades flying.
Yeah. Important to keep some of these Reapers alive just to make sure they don't move across the map with Roaches. Not that if they did, it'd be very scary. They have a wall off, they have a bunker, they're getting production, 3 more barracks, or no, 2 more barracks, a total of 5. And teching as well, that's a factory. So all they have to do is start making Marines, and they'll never have to worry about being Roach busts. Not for some time, at least, while Call Me Steve and Grasscutter both get their drone count back up first, because 19 is just not a lot to work with. The lair feels very useless right now. Very. It's, Ro8B can only help so much. And, maybe if they had a Nidus, that would have been cool, but again, there would have been too much production.
Well, impressive is the fact that they're still alive, but more impressive would be if they could bring this game back. It kind of sucks, because like, there's aspects of Starcraft 2 where you can fall behind and fight from behind, but a lot of the times, assuming no big mistakes are made, it's pretty hard to make that comeback. Now, there's some dancing inside the main base of these Reapers. Getting a little bit messy as the roaches do finally chase them out.
Oopsie. Yeah, I mean, I said these are important to make sure the roaches don't push out, but they're also just, you know, they're always going to be there, threatening the attack and threatening your drone line, because all it takes is 1 second for 6-7 Reapers to kill a queen, seen right there, or to kill a couple of drones, throw a couple of grenades. This is just getting worse and worse. Third CC is about halfway done, more than halfway done. And, oh, they're a little bit of supply block, too, so 4 overlords on the way. Not a very good use of their limited minerals. But they don't have to worry, you know, be worried about being supply blocked anymore.
Nope. It's not let me help you with that.
Yeah.
Trying to get on top of these is kind of difficult. Roaches with speed on creep, of course, they're very fast, as we can see, but the Reapers, they did what they needed to do. Like, whether you're throwing grenades down to stutter the roaches from getting across the map quickly for a counterattack, whether it's doing what they're doing right now and just keeping the roaches at home, perfectly viable and good moves. There should be plenty of bio. Stim being done should be huge, and this push from our Terran, I think, is going to, well, probably in the game.
Yeah, it's upgradeless, and we do have NYU preparing for 6 more roaches, so the armor supply really doesn't look that different, but that really doesn't account for mobility, medevac healing, and stim. Combat shields won't be done, so this would have been like the best time for NYU, but it's inferior units. It's you know, it's tier 3, even though it's mostly Marines for our Terran players, so I think that's gonna be it, and, well, on to the 1v1s. Some teams really suck at both team-oriented things. Both the 2v2s and Archon. Some teams suck at only one. Some teams are great at one, not the other. Like, I'm not saying that they suck or anything, but, like, some teams
I don't know, Zombie Grove.
some teams really dominate in the 1v1, like, and some teams actually do have a plan. Like, I talked about coordinators, right? And we talked about how lame of a title that was, but we also talked about NYU being invested in StarCraft 2. Call me Steve as the coordinator, and being such a passionate StarCraft 2 guy, I would really hope as the type of coordinator to be like, okay, we're going to be weak in the early stages of this best of 7, but we can definitely bring it back in the late stages. You know, actually have a plan for a full best of 7 as a team, which is rarely seen in StarCraft 2, unless you're watching Pro League. Usually it's just one person, one mind thinking of what they have to do.
Well, the game's not over yet.
Not yet. It's getting there.
Actually, the job's being kind of ineffective.
Yeah, very ineffective.
You know, with Archon mode, you like, you know, you tell one guy, okay, you take these 2 jobs, I'll take the other 2, and theoretically out micro your opponent, but not quite happening yet. We're going to have that second attack hit through the natural finally. Not many Marines with this, though, and the Reaper's going to dive into the back line, going straight for those minerals. The drop in the main goes back, and looks like it is going to pick off some more of these roaches, but I got to give credit where it's due. Team Zerg is on a terrible drone count. They're still on 2 bases, and the roach count's not exactly looking good, but they're still holding on to this game, and now going to try and sneak out a gold base? Like,
if they had the minerals, they would be trying.
I cannot see a situation where they win this game, but damn if they aren't playing really well with, like, what they have.
I mean, a lot of it is because you don't usually see a Zerg player only having to defend 2 base, so splitting an army in half is not that difficult. But that's a blessing and a curse, more of a curse, because they don't have a 3rd base just straight up. So that's it's a clever idea, especially if they're in different spawn positions. If this was horizontal, I would love this gold base being taken, but the starport production does actually seed it, so it wouldn't be a secret for very long. Still holding on, building some Ravagers, which have been very, I don't know, it's like I almost forgot Ravagers existed, but Ravagers are certainly very good at keeping a game going with that Corrosive Bile just scaring away Terran.
I mean, you look at the army supply, it's 100 versus 40, and you gotta be screaming in your mind as like an amateur StarCraft, like even just fan, going like, how is this not over? How is this guy fighting? How are these two still in the game? But I think finally that magic has been whittled away, and with Liberators approaching the front lines, GG is gonna get called. And congratulations to Waterloo, tying up the series now 2-2, leaving all matches remaining to the 1v1s.
Mm-hmm. So in the CSL, it's 1v1s from here on out, but the ace match, while still 1v1, is a little more up in the air. Otherwise, they know each other's race and who goes, and they could practice for a week against that specific person or race and on that specific map. But when it comes down to the ace match, which if things keep going the way that it is, it will go down to the ace match, we're going to have to start counting who's played and who's not, and who looks stronger. Okay, so the roster says next will be MVP versus Seraph. I do remember MVP. He's a pretty strong Terran.
We always do, because of course it's like that faux MVP.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, oh no, sorry. That's game number 6, which we'll see, definitely. But game number 5 is Grasscutter versus the Riddler. And of course, you just saw Grasscutter lose in the Archon.
Yeah, I mean, to simplify it for those tuning in, if either team can get 2 wins in a row, they're going to win the CSL round of 8. But if this goes back and forth, we might just see that 7th game, that ace match. Well, it depends on how these next couple games go.
Well, it's going to be
See
on
some,
ruins.
let me join in on you. I see some. Oh, this could actually be Runes of Saris, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to do that double take. I see. Of course, we're on that stream delay. People are saying calling it too soon. The thing was, though, guys, like this was a situation for one team that relied not on their own good play, which they certainly had, but it relied on the other team also making mistakes, which doesn't. It's not something you can guarantee and bank on, and that's where a lot of those games come a little bit. Easy, it was easy, quote unquote, to call early on.
I think a lot of people underestimate the power of proxy, or sorry, not proxy, 3x Reaper, because it sounds like something that's very committed. You know, you did 3x Reaper instead of getting tech or third command center or just the second command center in general. But it's so good, not just offensively, but recovering as well, that even if they did half or a third of the damage they did, I still would have put it in Terran's hands to win that game.
Well, we are in the lobby. Currently, we got Grasscutter joining us for NYU, that Grandmaster guy we had alluded to, and probably a big part of why his team was able to stay in for so long. But we are currently waiting on his opponent, who is apparently playing a ladder game at the moment. So warming up, practicing, staying fresh. I don't know what the rules are on this, but they do have to wait as a consequence.
Yeah. Oh well. The next best of 7, I guess, starting to trickle in. So they've been told how much longer it should be. I gotta say, for the playoffs, so for CSL in general, the regular season, there were quite a few stomps. Let's be honest, you know, and to surprising teams too. Teams with really heavy-hitting names like Intense and whatnot. They still, the overall team lost pretty hard. But for the playoffs, which I was thinking maybe in the round of 16, we see a couple of more stomps. I can only think of maybe one that went 4-1, I want to say. But the rest of what we cast, I guess that doesn't include the Tuesday's cast, which we really didn't do, have actually been really close. I've been really pleased with the amount of ace matches and just the closeness of skill in most of these 1v1s in particular. Like, not that the team score was 4-3, but that all the matches in the 4-3 were also pretty good. You know, any single time that someone's like, oh, the person's in a game, you know, people are always like, hey, it must be a really intense game if he doesn't want to leave for a tournament. No,
A lot of it's
people just
like,
don't want to leave a game and lose. Like,
yeah.
I'm the same, like, I definitely wouldn't. I'd be like, no, I can win in the next 5 minutes.
Like,
Give it to
sorry, we
me.
got to cast, you know, Flash and Zest are waiting for us. You're like, no, I got to finish this game. Hang
I got this.
5 minutes, Mom. Well, I guess, I don't know, do we have like a break screen we can go to or anything? Like,
We do.
So we don't
Ace
know how
is
long
gonna-
this could be.
He's gonna try and like doom drop or something. It says 1 minute, but that's not guaranteed. So we'll just put this little slideshow up. Look at it, it's so pretty. Put some music on. But I won't mute us because, you know. Okay, everyone, they are ready to go.
The Riddler.
Yeah, the Riddler. So NYU's Grass Cutter versus the Riddler for Waterloo. ZVP. Oh, he's about to win. He probably just like A-moved like an actual champ, as opposed to what we were just talking about. Good guy.
Nothing wrong
Riddler.
with A moving once in a while.
Well,
It's good for the back.
Probably lost in the game.
Well, let's hope there's no on tilt to follow that latter game.
Yeah. Alright, so in the top left on Ruins of Saras, because it's the old map pool, it is the pink Zerg NYU's Grass Cutter.
And his opponent playing Protoss just came fresh off of a ladder match on the right side. It's going to be the red, the Riddler, playing for Waterloo. Of course, just reminding everybody the score is tied up 2-2 amongst the two teams, but this is still a best of one, so you will... this will actually be the last time we see Grasscutter today.
Yes, he played in the Archon match and now a 1v1, so he is now not allowed to be the ace match. Now, I'm pretty sure NYU, it would have been either him or Shu. And since Grasscutter's not being played right now, I guess Shu is going to be that ace if they need it. And I can quickly confirm, yeah, he's not played next. Next is MVP. MVP might be the ace too, though. He hasn't played twice either. And he's been showing pretty good stuff. Well, anyway, first time we see is EVP today. So that's kind of cool. You do have a drone scout, see if anything weird's going on. It's a big macro map, so it was doubtful anything weird is really going to happen. But even just seeing if they went for a Nexus first, or as opposed to like a double gateway opener, It's not a lot of aggression, but it can be sometimes a lot of damage if you don't expect it, or if you're doing your own greedy build. Now, Grasscutter just went for a Speedling Expand, which is pretty damn safe. So he didn't really have to worry, even if it was the double Stargates. He might have scouted this and just been like, damn, if only I had 14 pooled. I still want to say 10 pooled, you know, and like 6 pooled. It just...
I just feel like it's fair to want to say that because it's been, what, 4.5 years of that actually being the case, and less than one of 14 worker, like 13 worker default, whatever.
Yeah. I just, you know, it's like, I guess people who are casting Brood War had to get used to this not saying 4 pool. God, that must have taken forever. Oh, well. We do have a Scouts of the Riddler also going down. Didn't really hang around too long. It's going to Zelnaga now, but it sees that, you know, very importantly, that the speed was taken, so any aggression he was thinking about doing, even just a simple poke with a Stalker or a single Adept, probably wouldn't do a whole lot, and he's going to have to just kind of concede map control to the Zerg player, which was, you know, bound to happen anyway. But definitely the most important part is seeing that there weren't any Lings about to attack him, so he just put his head next to on the low ground, starting off with a very funky looking wall, but as long as it works, you know, it works. There are 2 Adepts on the way, and a 3rd base for Grasscutter. Grasscutter, as we said, with the Archon match, made GM. I don't know if it's his first time making GM, I feel like I haven't noted that before for him specifically, or not, but definitely a good player. The Riddler, I believe, was Masters when we got in, but it's a new season, maybe just hasn't gotten around to getting GM.
I really wish this guy was asking riddles like a bad Batman villain the entire time. Like, I'm actually a little bit upset.
Takes way too much APM, man. He did that in Heart of the Swarm, but now Protoss actually takes skill. Hey, okay.
Let's red and blue and Protoss all over. Psionic transfer to depth.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Actually, did you ever see the College Humor Batman parodies with the Riddler?
No.
And, like, the really bad Batman?
No?
He's, like, too dumb to solve the riddles.
Oh. I feel like that should be more accurate. Because, you know, I guess, like, the cliche is that it's the superhero, whether it's Batman or someone else, always either knows it right off the bat or at the last minute figures it out and it saves the day.
Well, it was something really silly, like, if a gun shoots you with this, you'll be blank, or you'll be riddled with blank, and the answer is bullets, very obviously, right? And he's like, don't tell me. It's a helicopter.
It's like Joey.
So he calls Alfred. And Alfred's like, you hear kind of the mumble on the phone, helicopter? And you're like, no! What? How do they both come to that conclusion?
I was gonna say, it's like Joey with like, it's white, it's in your fridge. A ghost!
A ghost? Terrible. Okay, so unfortunately, we've got a bit of a stale game. So I say unfortunately because it's a bit boring for us watching, of course, but for the players, this is actually kind of an important aspect of it. Many times we've discussed this. It doesn't matter what league you are, whether it's the professionals, whether you're a Korean Kespa player, or maybe you're just like a mid-masters ladder player. In TVZ, there are kind of these certain cutoffs. Even if you're going Stargate or if you're going double Robo, doesn't matter. Protoss, I feel, is going to have a really hard time early on if the Zerg player is willing to get super aggressive in their face. And a passive game is going to favor Protoss more often than not. So he's kind of getting away with these double Stargates. He's getting away with the 3rd base right now. I mean, the Riddler is... It sounds like I'm describing a villain again, getting away with all of his dastardly plans. Whereas Grasscutter, I am waiting to see, like, is this going to be a big alone with Hydras? He's still droning after all. He hasn't quite hit that sweet number of 60. And, I don't know, with those ranged weapon upgrades, this could very well just go straight to Lurkers and not even concern Hydras and Lings.
Well, if it goes straight to Lurkers, maybe making a huge mistake. You do need some of that anti-air.
Okay, some Hydras, yes.
He sees 1 Stargate, which is not too alarming, but despite having Overlord speed, does not see the second one, which could be a bit of a problem. Now, it's all up to whether or not Riddler tries to hide it or just shows it immediately, like that he has 10, 12 Phoenixes or whatnot, but I guess he is going to be showing at least some of them. 2 of them go across the map, and I guess the rest are rallied as his Adepts have moved out. They don't have any upgrades except +1. So numbers that Englaves is basically what I mean. But they do have the help of the Phoenix as well. Now, it's Roaches already, and I can definitely see why the Riddler just backs off from that. That's not something the Adept would do too well against. But if he hadn't just burned his Shade, I think that he could have just gone into every single base and at least caused some havoc. But potentially, I guess, doesn't want to kind of poke the bear. If everything gets cleaned up and then he gets counterattacked, his double Stargate really hasn't paid off quite yet, and now he's going for a double Robo.
So I got a question about Grass Cutter's name for you.
Yeah.
Is this a grass cutter in sense of something like a lawnmower, for example, would be a grass cutter?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this like a really cool freaking move where it's like grass cutter and it's like blades of grass that cut you up?
I imagine that it is the Pokemon. What was its name?
Bulbasaur?
No, it was a
Scyther?
grasshopper. Scyther, thank you, Scyther.
Got it in 2.
Nice, good job.
We would be such good Pictionary partners, man.
Yeah, we gotta play it when we go to DreamHack Austin.
Oh my God, I forgot.
It'll be game night, all right. It'll be Mafia and then some nice charades to calm everyone down. Man, I'm so excited.
down.
That's 3 weeks away. Can you believe it?
And of course, on top of that, we're going to be casting the CSL finals at DreamHack, which will be pretty awesome as well.
I heard you got a suit for that.
Hey, Zombie Grub. No, I didn't. And I don't know what you're talking about.
No?
So.
Oh, I must have heard wrong. I thought it was a really nice suit. Cost you a couple $100.
It is, but it's not something I'm planning to bring to the CSL cast. That's for certain.
Are you sure? Because
Yeah.
I think it would really kick it up a notch, you know? I'm gonna come in with my business suit from the 80s with its padded shoulders. It'd be so sexy.
No comment.
Excuse you. You say yes.
Padded shoulders. I forgot about that being a fad for a while too. That in my eyes never looked good. At any point in like me growing up, did I ever see a woman with padded shoulders and be like,
yeah. Yeah. My mom still has a bunch of suits that have padded shoulders, and I've been watching X-Files, which of course, like, Scully always wears them. I don't know either. It's questionable. But a lot of things were questionable in the past, such as like frizzy hair in the 80s.
I mean,
What's up
why,
with that?
why is it so tolerable for women to do that? You lie about your shoulders, you get the padded bras, you lie about your breasts.
Excuse you.
I
Okay,
mean,
buddy.
it's just
All right.
deceptive.
All right. So this is the one problem with having your robos at the third. The good, thing about it is that they're right there for instant reinforcements if you're just barely holding on, but it can be sniped if you're not quite prepared. So losing one in just 5 seconds is a really big deal. You need that immortal count to be higher and higher. But good force fields so far are decent ones, keeping the army back, but then engages into his own force fields and kind of messes that up, goes into a concave, and everything, the fodder all dies. It's mostly just the immortals. The second robo could go down too. Uh-oh. Uh-oh for the Riddler. This might just be game here. Probes are being pulled. A lot of zealots are being warped in, and there's only Hydras left over.
The immortals are still going to be tough to break.
But there's no more immortals. These have to live up to their name. 4 immortals living forever. Charge is done, and that's a lot of damage on only Hydras. But Grasscutter isn't just going for only Hydras. We in fact start to have a couple of Lurkers being made as well, which can just chip away from afar. As there's only 2 of them, they won't be able to do that extreme damage. And I really do question the Riddler's choice to put down the 2 robos on the third again. I mean, you see a lot of pros do this, sure, but you're in a dire situation, you're being pressured still. Well, you don't want to have them crab walk all the way from the natural, but it might be safer. Oh, does he have detection? Oh, yeah, he does. Okay, whew, he has 1 observer. If he didn't have detection, the robos not being here would be a big problem.
He did have to put down 2 new robos, so I mean, like, let's not forget those got bust on the front lines, and that really did cut into production. But even doing so, Riddler still has, like, what I'm concerned about is a lot of money. Like, he's dying with a lot of gas in that bank.
Yeah.
Zealot's going to charge forward on the front lines, not quite getting to the Lurkers. If he focuses them down, maybe it looks a little bit different, but the Zealots all dissipate. That fodder now gone. A couple Archons finish up, sure, but now pouncing on top of the Immortals. If these go down, this is where it really starts to fall apart for the Riddler.
Yeah, that's maybe started to look for a comeback, but no, everything kind of just dies 5 seconds later. Roach is still trying to cover those Hydras, and by the way, the upgrades have been in favor for Grasscutter for a while, because he went for double upgrades very early on, so 2-1 versus just the 1. The composition is what Protoss wants. The Riddler did not do that incorrectly, it's just that he didn't have enough of the composition. He didn't have enough time to get to what he needed, how much he needed, and it looks like Grasscutter will be winning this for NYU. And Zealots to break a 2-base Protoss, but
Well,
the
let's not forget
Uniters came on the
also-
ramp.
Also reclaiming his pride for what was the GM loss.
Yeah. Hydra's... kill it? Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be game. GG!
Alright, congratulations, Grass Cutter. And while you're now taking that lead, 3-2 overall score.
Yeah, and now we're going to see MVP versus Seraph at TVT on Dusk Towers.
Okay, so MVP, the player we mentioned before a couple of times, I just want to really clarify this, not the Starcraft 2 Korean MVP, not the player that you guys all know and adore, but he's just got MVP as his name. Doesn't make him any worse of a player for it, but just clarifying because we have had people ask many times, like, how do they have MVP on their team?
Yeah. He is AFK and not sure who or where Seraph is. Oh, there he is.
I see Polt online. Can I just add him? What is this clan he's in? Dwedgie? Oh, it's his girlfriend's clan. The official Arya the Husky Club. Her dog. Then before Polt left CM Storm, just because, like, it was getting in the way of true love.
You can't join my clan? I don't love you anymore.
No, I didn't mean like that, but yeah, also maybe like that, I guess. Although, in fairness, Sky is, like, not that type of person at all. Anyways, non-related material aside, Dusk Towers, gonna be a great map. Looks like we did a Seraph watching the stream, so with that delay, he didn't quite know it was his turn yet. We'll get him in a moment.
Yeah, well, MVP is away anyway.
Yeah, hopefully MVP is not gonna be away for too long, though. So MVP is for NYU, right?
That's correct.
Got to keep those 3 letters going strong.
I'm paranoid. Oh, he's here. Great.
Fantastic.
Dude, I got these vitamin gummies, right? In an effort to be more and more healthy.
Okay. I think vitamins are bullshit, but go on.
Originally, I got just regular, like, adult vitamins or whatever, the gummy ones.
Actually, I need to rescind my statement just now, real quick, sorry before you continue, because Flintstone vitamins were the shit and not bullshit. Anyways, go on, sorry.
Yeah, so I got some gummy adult ones. Not because I'm, like, I can't swallow the pill, but just, no, they're actually the cheapest one. But I went through those, and then I was like, I guess I'll get, like, the woman's one specifically. Not that I think that's gonna be that bad, that big of a difference. Oh, it's different. It tastes a million times worse. Like, what the fuck?
Women need to suffer, said the male vitamin
of course.
experts.
Yeah, exactly. I was so angry. I was like, what the shit is this taste? So now, what used to be a pleasure to eat a gummy twice a day is now just like, Alright.
Does it taste like velvet?
Oh my god, why would you bring that up? Oh my god, the idea of velvet, like, oh Jesus.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CSL round of 8. We got Waterloo playing against NYU, and currently down 1 in the overall score. In the bottom left side of Dusk Towers, we got the Yellow Terran, Seraph, playing for Waterloo.
In the top right, is the Green Terran. It is MVP for NYU.
NY me? No, NYU.
So I told you the story about how I was always not a nervous child, but I was always stressed out as a kid. Because that damn cookie jar song. Who stole cookies from the cookie jar?
Wasn't
You?
me, couldn't be, then who?
Yeah, I still don't freaking know it. Like, that's just
I
my
still don't know who
trauma.
took the cookies, Ripkin.
Childhood trauma.
Mom's
don't
still
know.
ahead of me, and I don't know who took the goddamn cookies.
We do have something interesting happening. It's a TVT. We have someone being aggressive. MVP is going to be starting off with a 2 Rax Reaper build against Seraph's Reaper Expand. Now, you could straight up lose to a 2 Rax, even if it's not proxied, if you have pretty poor control. But you should be okay with some decent, like, CV pools and not just losing your Reaper willy-nilly.
I'm going to say disgusting. I'm actually not a big fan of Reaper play when it comes to TVT. It does work, though, on a lot of players. And the problem is if you play even just a little bit greedy, these Reapers will have a fantastic day ending your life.
Hey.
So a command center down is not greedy. Getting his own Reaper, not greedy. Seraph is actually kind of playing fine for this for now, but he will eventually be overwhelmed. And if he doesn't put down a second barracks, or he doesn't take a good initial fight, or doesn't get a factory down, this could all go south very quickly.
Yeah, there's the factory. I have a question for you. Before, when you clicked on a building on the production tab to go to it, did it always go to the SCV building it?
No, but I've noticed that recently in our cast as well, so I guess that's not just me, which is good to know.
Add that on a list of another bug. Jesus. My post is gonna be so long. I guess they fixed, like, maybe half of them in this recent patch, but there's still more. Alright, here's the beginning of the potential end, I suppose. It really should not be the end, though. If this was 3 racks, if this was a proxied Reaper, maybe this would be a lot more dire, but already, like, not starting off great for MVP, and of course he's macroing behind this himself. Considering how badly this has started off, I'd be surprised if he commits to any more than 4 or 5 Reapers. Yeah, he's not.
I mean, it is worth noting, in fairness, though, that you know, Reapers aside for just a second, Hellion's actually not the answer to this that they used to be. That grenade really changed things up quite a bit. So, could still find leads, and I mean, putting that reactor down is a little bit messy. Does take away from production time. 4 Reapers are here, but not quite enough to fight this. Not as long as they get shots from the Marines before the Reapers get up to the high ground. So dancing around, kind of a bit of guesswork for both players, like where the Reaper's coming from and where's that defense going to be. Throws those grenades down. It is going to hit the Reaper,
bad.
kill the 2 Marines. Now it's just the Hellions. Actually, the Reapers are not being handled too well for this. The Marines popping out of that barracks, though, is going to shut this down.
You know, though, for what might have been nothing, getting the army for army is not terrible. Now you don't have to worry as much about being countered, now that you really could on Dusk Towers. You still have a scout going down with this Reaper to see that it's not going to be a drop. In fact, it's going to be, apparently, Banshees with a tech lab. So that's definitely better than nothing. Did not get the same snowball effect that you would want, though, as MVP.
Why did Green ping his own base?
Oh, I didn't see it. What?
Oh, well, there was a ping right there.
Either I didn't see it, or, like, my client's stupid again. Chat confirm.
Do you see me pinging right now?
No.
Cool, I don't either.
Oh, wait, are you pinging way, way up to the north?
No.
Oh, there's, like, a light up... Am I crazy?
Can observers no longer ping? This is actually a serious question. Or maybe if you're just not a referee.
Wait, what's the ping? Oh, I can still
G.
ping, yeah.
Can you? I didn't see it.
Well, I didn't, because, I mean, it would be obnoxious.
Well, do it.
Fine, here. Oh, wait, you're right. It turns the cursor, but doesn't actually do it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Ah! Okay.
Dun dun dun.
Second bug of today.
Well, actually, this isn't a problem, though, because we oftentimes hate when people ping in games,
yeah,
so
I
this
know.
is actually not a bad thing. This is kind of an okay mistake to have going on, but as far as TVT goes, I mean, this was something that was meant to go really well for Green. Unfortunately, wasn't able to capitalize on it, but he did macro out of it with a 3rd CC. Both players are on similar SCV counts, so this is all in all not that bad of a setup. Question is, though, can he deal with these cloaked Banshees? The scan goes down on the other side of the map. Looks like he does have turrets up in his mineral lines, so MVP should be okay.
Yeah, he scouted the tech lab early on with the Reaper, and if he didn't have a missile turret, I'd be judging him pretty hard right now. 3rd CC is already done for MVP, so he's going to get up a little bit in that SCV supply, while Seraph is just now finishing his 3rd CC. So MVP, despite what was not exactly a failed opener, but didn't get what it really wanted, is doing quite nice for himself. And with the denial of the Banshees, should be getting his 3rd CC on location soon enough. Oh, bye-bye, Banshee. Bye-bye. She good.
Now, keeping the Banshees alive versus killing them, I mean, there is actually some use for them outside of just the mineral harass. If Seraph really can't get in here with the Banshees now, but it keeps them alive to break tank lines later. Banshees actually are pretty good in TVT to have in that mid-game. Even if there are a couple of Vikings in play or not. But having invested in the cloak, would certainly hope he doesn't just throw the second one away.
Yeah, as you said, they can be pretty important in breaking or defending as well. Noting that especially because while the Banshees didn't seem like that much of a commitment, They really were. As you can see, the stim upgrades already done for MVP. Upgrades ahead of Seraph's as he only just finished up his 2 engineering bays. Just in general, MVP's macro is looking better with his mineral and gas count being a lot lower. But Seraph's not doing bad. His army supply is actually still up, although it does include 2 Banshees that aren't exactly being totally useful. Third CC going down on location just a little bit after Seraph's, and no one's going to be attacking yet, but they are on their way to Medivacs. Oh, Seraph already getting a second factory. But yeah, on their way to Medivacs, and should be on their way to some aggression. Double drop. Oddly enough, missing a Marine from each Medivac, but still pretty potent with the stim and what should be combat shields. It's about halfway done. Armory nicely timed up. So Seraph will have a very nice defensive setup with the tanks, especially. But yeah, there's MVP's second factory as well. But it is about the main engagements, after all, in TVT, as there hasn't really not much damage otherwise in this game. So who has the better tank drops when it gets down to it? These double drops, they're going to actually be able to do some damage, as Seraph was totally unprepared for this. His Banshee only doing a minimal amount of damage on the other side of the map. Picks up a tank to go help defend. Can't stim to respond. Stim's still not done. So a couple SCVs go down, but so do a couple of supply depots. Supply blocking Seraph. And you can get out of there. Again, no stim to chase it.
Oh, Banshees. I always want so much more from you.
Yeah. This one has done an okay job. She kind of, you know, she was worth being made. She killed six units. She outright. It's a Viking. So MVP, like I've been saying, you know, he has these faster 1-1. He should be starting 2-2 soon, but he's still a little bit down on the army supply. Now catching up. It was 20, not 30 seconds ago. Double drops still going pretty strong, only losing about 4 Marines, and we'll scout the other drop. This almost looked like Seraph wanted to try and catch it, but that wouldn't have worked out. Keep an eye on that, while this other one... Oh no, it's the same drop, never mind. But MVP is getting set up to move out. Not enough medevacs to pick up all of his tanks yet, so he has to move out with a couple of unsieged ones, but he's going to be the aggressor, he's going to be the container. Sounds like, yeah, he's going to be the one that contains, I think is a better way to put it. And he'll be potentially looking for a 4th base while he does so. This Viking should catch his medevac, by the way. Help out just a little bit.
But will it stop it? Missile turrets actually should be able to finish it off.
Yeah, only one Marine. Oh,
that's
yeah.
not good. MVP on the rampage, by the way, looking to get across the map. He does have the aid of mobility through medevacs, but he just doesn't have the numbers to bust through here with brute force. And normally there's a location close to that cliff you can take advantage to, but Seraph actually hasn't built too much that would be in range of it anyways. So this is kind of a hard spot for MVP. He really wanted to come in and get some damage, but he doesn't have the capabilities unless Seraph moves into his army.
Yeah. His drop goes on behind and kills 3 more SCVs and still gets out. The Marines are able to choke behind that tank. I still think it would be definitely worth, trying to abuse this location, especially as the tank is moved, but it looks like Seraph's going to be trying to bust MVP here. And MVP does not, he still doesn't have his tanks dropped. He's not paying attention. He's probably microing something or macroing, I'm not sure which, but he just loses everything. Oh dear God. Well, almost everything. Almost loses that second tank, but still everything on the ground. And, well, that was certainly a blow to his army supply. Now, again, down by 20. Still with those faster upgrades and a faster 4th CC.
Yeah, the macro game really is what comes into question when it comes to this sort of setup. I mean, Marine Tank versus Marine Tank, we've all seen it many times on many different streams, but upgrades are pretty important. That'll be very nice here for MVP, but just overall macro is looking better for him. You know, 15 Marines being produced at a time is kind of huge.
Yeah. In general, MVP's macro has been usually a little bit better, but he was starting to bank a lot during that engagement. He was trying to micro the drop, he was trying to get his SimCity set up, I suppose, and was, of course, controlling his main army. So he did slip, but has really ramped back up with that XX production. However, I thought the 4th CC was faster. I guess I just didn't see Seraph's already finished, so never mind. His is on location and turning into a planetary. And they're both at pretty good work accounts, so we should be able to utilize that. And MVP is the one that's on the ropes. Seraph is looking pretty strong for Waterloo here.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of really nice shots off with these tanks, but I mean that's for now. I mean the upgrades did shift now in MVP's favor, and if it comes to Marine fights, which a lot of these fights do tend to do, then the Marine fight goes in the favor of Green every single time. Catches a lot of his opponent's Marines as he does unload aggressively. But now been awkward, stuck in the middle of the map. Neither player can really advance forward. Only options are to fall back for the time being. But as Seraph falls back, this opens the opportunity for MVP to pick up all these tanks and just keep pushing forward.
So this isn't a bad choice to take as a 4th base for MVP. If you do take this one, you potentially get abused right here, which I think is what MVP should be looking for Seraph. But Seraph is trying to be on top of that, accidentally unloads in front of Marine, so loses to 1 tank, 2 tanks, pretty much right off the bat. Choke versus choke, I'm not sure what they're both doing taking this engagement, but MVP's actually just going to push through despite choking in versus a couple of tanks.
I just want to point out, like, the strength of upgrades right there, really showing through with the Marine fight. But despite how well and bad that went for both sides equally, MVP still can't really push the issue. He lost a lot of his tanks.
Well, he can't push the 4th base necessarily, but this is where you start to abuse that location I just talked about. He had about 10 seconds to do so before Seraph was like, oh, right, like, let's not let that happen, and is actually taking care of that. But you talked about the upgrades, and the upgrades are still going to be, this time, really far ahead for MVP, as Seraph still has not started his own 3-3, despite having the minerals and gas for it. Now, he scouted this CC, and he should be looking to pressure it once he feels comfortable moving out, but that's where MVP needs the scouting to know where his opponent's positioning is, and, well, the planetary to stop against drops. This should not be a problem. It's about halfway done anyway. Oh, pull the SCVs, though. Oh, God, pull the SCVs. Oh, Jesus.
Well, the planetary not done, so that did a lot more damage than I thought it was going to do. At least.
I better just pull the SCVs and wait for the planetary to finish. But Neop loses 15 SCVs, bringing back down to 45. So not bad, you know, but he does still need to max out. He's dipped down once again. He's got a 5th CC on the way. I mean, overall, MVP, every time I look, is in, like, lower on those minerals, but after a certain point, it was because he was just lower on the economy, I suppose. Actually, we do have the graphs available. Yeah, he was winning for 1 point, and then Seraph did overtake him for a little bit as well. But in general, he is falling behind every once in a while. It's being pretty nitpicky and critical, but anytime he seems to almost have an advantage, he gets pushed back, and then he dips down about 20 supply. And that's something that eventually Seraph will hopefully be able to take advantage of, as opposed to being the defensive player he's been so far. As he tries to push out, he is just pushed away again. Like, no thank you.
I'm a little bit shocked. I mean, to be honest, when TVT hits this stage, when we start seeing Marines and tanks in this quantity, the game actually starts revealing who's clearly ahead, who's better. One good engagement, two good engagements. Like, it really starts tilting, I guess. But this has still been... And I hate to say it like this, equally bad with a lot of these fights.
They both made mistakes, but they have like the very similar macro to not make it matter. Again, there's been a couple, like, you know, literally 1 or 2 situations where they could have found weaknesses in positioning and just, you know, were doing something else. But it's certainly still an even game, and no one's really identify themselves as someone about to just skyrocket ahead. Now, Seraph, while he's late on the 3-3, it's about to finish, so it's soon not going to be a problem. And he has the faster 5th base here, and still has the higher work count after those 15 died for MVP. MVP's bothering to get building upgrades, by the way, which is, I mean, you know, it can help his planetaries, but at this stage, it's still kind of expensive with his gas being so low. And his minerals at one point being low, but they're both maxed out. The tanks reposition on top of the Marines of Seraph, and MVP just goes for it and takes a beautiful fight. Oh, he mana mule. Oh, wow.
Maybe they're meant to be distractions for the planetary. Maybe it wasn't Super BM. He's
There's
actually going to lose a lot of units to the planetary if he's fighting it. He doesn't have his tanks in range.
Yeah,
Awkward as both players...
That was the drop going on. It didn't do a lot of damage, but just Seraph, I think he was paying attention to the drop, and as such, like, a ton of Marines were off to the left, and it just looked like he wasn't paying attention in that fight.
While this goes on, MVP actually starts losing some of his main. Nothing too drastic yet, but as we see, production's not quite covering this. MVP though going for the kill move, pushing into the national base. Says, you know what? Screw that planetary. Nobody wants you anyways. So pushes through the third base. This gets on some of the production, and this is too many tanks to deal with. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I guess we accidentally caster curse once again. We're talking about that one big fight that was going to be the deciding fight, and it finally happened. Oh yeah. It's preparing. GG! MVP takes the 4th game for NYU and sends them into the round of 4. Congratulations to him.
Good to see. So now this moves us on to the next best of 7. As of course we are casting 2 best of 7s tonight instead of your regular just 1.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go to be right back though.
Oh yeah, no problem. We're gonna take a break anyway. The next series will be UTA versus RPI, and we need to get everyone all set up and ready to go. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
All right, be back.